Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And I'm here for our weekly genealogy chat that we have here every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So I want to welcome you, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Hey, Nicole is from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Susan from Eastern Ontario. Wonderful, wonderful. So we're really all over the place, which is great. I love it. So if we've not met before, my name is Lisa Lisson. I am the owner and creator over at Are You My Cousin? It's the website where I work really hard to try to take um, the overwhelm out of genealogy research and provide tutorials, provide blog posts that can help you get your genealogy research moving in the right direction. Now, last week, if you guys tuned in last week, you know that I was actually on the road. I think I was in Tennessee. I could have been in Virginia, but I think I was in Tennessee by that point and didn't want to miss another week with you guys. So I actually just did a first time ever live stream using my phone in my car in a McDonald's parking lot, and it actually seemed to work pretty well. So I was actually pretty pleased that I managed to pull that off for the first time. So, but as you can see today, I am back in my office. I am located in North Carolina, so I'm happy to be back home in my office and with you guys again today. So, hey, Amy's from Oregon. Hey, Dave, good to see you again from Washington. Kelly from Pennsylvania. Hey, Mary Jane you're from Pennsylvania as well. And we have Joyce from Michigan. So we have folks all over, and I recognize some of the names certainly, and I do appreciate you guys showing up every week. If you are new, and of course, if you've been here with us for a while, feel free to ask a question if you'd like as we talk this today. I do monitor the comments. So if you have a question that comes up and want to ask, feel free to pop it into the comments, and I do see those as they flash by. If for some reason I miss it, just type it again. Sometimes they get too far in the scroll and I might miss it, but I definitely want to make sure I get those answered, as many as I can. We have Diane from Ohio. Yay. Hey, Pam's from Ohio as well. Oh, hey, Gian from Italy. Okay, I have to tell you guys this. I'm actually going to be traveling again tomorrow. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to Italy. Hey, Yvonne from Manchester, England. I'm going to get there one day. I definitely am going to get there. Hey, Vicki, good to see you too. All right, so let's jump into genealogy and what's happening in the Are You My Cousin world these days. So a couple things just to kind of give you a couple of reminders. So I did put out a new post this week, I think it was. I guess it was this week. My days are all mixed up, guys. Anyway, on managing your family trees and how to do that. And I talk about it with doing it at Ancestry, at Find My Past, and My Heritage. And I've just put the link to that post in the comments there for you guys. So, and we're going to dive really deep into that a little bit more in just a minute. As I kind of tell you what I do and why I manage my trees the way I manage them and how I handle them. And just to kind of give you guys some tips, you may find that it helps. You may take pieces of what I do to incorporate into your own system, and that's perfectly fine as well. I will tell you over the next few weeks, once I'm finished traveling, you will start to notice a little bit of a new look on Are You My Cousin? I am just doing some website updates. Everything will still be there, but should you happen upon it and things are not quite where that you thought they were or something, sit tight or just, send me an email, let me know. And, but I just want you to know that there could be some changes coming. And so if you happen to hop on right during the middle of a change taking place, it might look a little different. So just be aware that I think it's going to be really great. And it's going to allow you to find things easier on the website, which is really what I want you guys to be able to do so that you can find what it is, the information that you're looking for. Because guys, I have almost 300 blog posts over there right now. So it can be a little hard to find some of the things. So I'm just trying to make that a little bit easier for you guys. If you haven't heard, Are You My Cousin is taking a cruise June 20th through 27th of 2022. We are cruising to Alaska. So I will pop that link in there as well. I know many of you guys have heard about that, but if you are interested and want to find more details, definitely check out the link, reach out to my travel guru, Pat Zale. She's a longtime Are You My Cousin reader as well. I've just put her link there in the chat as well. Okay. Hey, Jim. Good to see you from Florida. You're on Facebook. YouTube says Facebook doesn't work. Is Facebook down again today? Oh, um, that would be different. So yes, so that actually brings up a really good thing, Jim, talking about Facebook and not working. One of the questions that I get when it comes to, for particularly for new genealogy researchers and even researchers who've been doing it for a while, is what is the purpose of having an online tree and an offline tree? And I think this week, for those of you who use Facebook, and Facebook went down this week, and Instagram and WhatsApp, anything that was owned by Facebook went down. That's the reason right there that we want to have our own copy of an offline tree. So I personally have my a tree on ancestry.com and then I use Family Tree Maker software. I just happened to I started with Family Tree Maker years ago, and it did not. I mean, I loved it, so I didn't feel really the need to change. I have tried out the others like Roots Tech and Legacy, and they were perfectly fine, guys. Absolutely. I really liked them all. But I had just kind of started with Family Tree Maker. It was what I was used to. So, it went away for a little bit, then it came back. And I just stayed with it, basically. So I do keep that on my computer. I do have it backed up. So I back up in the cloud, but then I also will create a J account and back it up on an external hard drive as well. So I do have it in multiple places. So heaven forbid, Facebook, or heaven forbid, one of the, if I'm working on Ancestry and Ancestry tree goes down for whatever reason, I haven't lost anything, or I can access it when I want to access it. So just to let you know. Hey, Vicky, Larry asked a question. I'm assuming this is about the cruise. Do you need a passport? I think you do, because there's Canadian stops in there. Larry, I would encourage you to click to that link that I put in for Pat Zales for the cruise, and she will be able to answer every single question. But there are some Canadian stop. There's at least one Canadian stop, which is required by the U.S. and before they re-enter the cruise ship re-enters U.S. water or U.S. ports, something like that. But yes, so I think that's the catch there. All right, so back to family trees. So I definitely keep an offline tree. I also tend to keep notes and things in my offline tree that perhaps pertain to living relatives that maybe there's some sensitive stories that just, quite frankly, don't need to be shared at this time. Living relatives, stories that might be sensitive, topics that might be sensitive. And so I'm not going to put that out there in a tree online anyway. So I can mark those private. I can keep those out of the online tree. Now, what I do think is really helpful is to have a tree, an offline tree that will sync with one of the databases that you work with. So for instance, because I'm primarily a US researcher, Ancestry is oftentimes, a primary resource for me. Family Tree Maker syncs with that. So I can make a change at Ancestry Tree and it syncs back to my Family Tree Maker program and vice versa. It will also sync to Family Search. So I think that's very helpful to have that done, because then I can work both places, right? And so maybe I am working offline and then it will sync up to my online tree. There are privacy settings. Just read through the privacy part in their directions, and it will tell you, you can choose what is it you want to include and what is it you want to have synced over to the online tree, and what do you not want to be synced over there. So you have control over that tree to an extent to be able to do that as well. So that's why I do it that way. Now, I will, in all disclosure, I actually have trees at Ancestry. I have trees at Find My Past, and I have trees at a tree at My Heritage. And the reason I go with all of those places is because I want to make sure that I am taking advantage of the algorithms and the hint algorithms at all of the major databases that are out there. And that allows me to do it. Now, how do I manage that? Because, my program does not sync to Find My Past and it doesn't sync to my heritage, that's okay because typically it's certain lines that I might be delving into a little bit more. So if I'm using Find My Past, maybe it's that Irish great grandmother that I'm working on, and I'm really going to pay attention and really feel that line out there and see what it is I can find out. Maybe I'm picking up new hints, new record collections that they have that Ancestry doesn't have. Same thing with my heritage, wanting to make sure I just want to cover all my bases basically with that, because it could be that somebody is on Find My Past who is a relative and maybe has ancestors or has common, we have a common ancestor, but they're not on Ancestry. So I don't want to miss them for that Irish line type thing. So sometimes it's, I might not fill out the tree completely on one of those other databases, but definitely on the lines that I'm actively researching, because that does allow me. I do realize I do have that opportunity to be able to have subscriptions to all of those. So that does make a difference with that. But you can have option, there are options for that type of thing as well. So I would be curious, and if you want to pop in the comments where you keep, what databases you put your trees on. If do you have it just on Ancestry or just on Find My Past, just on Family Search, or do you guys have it pretty much kind of like I do? Do you use one or more of the databases where you keep your family tree? I think that would be really kind of interesting to hear about. One of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up, and this always comes up, and I think I've talked about it before, is Family Search. Because as you notice, I don't have a tree on Family Search. And the reason I don't is it is a different type of tree. In other words, for those of you who do, I'm sure you know, you have trees. It's kind of like I don't know if you want to call it one world tree, but it's everybody can contribute to it. And things can get changed and your own data can get changed and vice versa. It can get a little messy. This is really, I like that. I like it in one respect, but then in the other respect, I don't have time to keep up with correcting all the corrections that might be, come through that maybe I have personal knowledge of, so I know that my information was correct, et cetera, et cetera. But it is purely just a personal choice. I think they do a fabulous job over at Family Search. It is a different type of tree, and I preferred the tree where it was my own tree and I could take care of my own tree. So it's very much up to you. It's up to how you want to manage your trees. And like I said, I think Family Search, I think all of them do a really nice job, but that's just the reason I didn't put one on Family Search. So nothing against that. That's just how I manage my trees. Let's see what people are using. Hey, Mary Jane uses Ancestry and Family Tree Maker. Kathy uses Family Search, Legacy, Roots Magic, Ancestry, and My Heritage. Yes, so that's a good thing. You bring up Legacy and Roots Magic. Yes, both are good programs, and Legacy doesn't sync with Ancestry. Roots Magic, I just blanked, does sync with Ancestry, and I think it syncs with Family Search as well. So those are other options that are out there. Tommy uses Ancestry and Roots Magic. You check others for docs, but don't really keep trees updated. Exactly. Tammy, not Tommy, sorry. She does. So Tammy is, let me pop that up on the screen for you guys so you can see this. So she's using Ancestry and Roots Magic, much like I use Ancestry and Family Tree Maker. She's using the others for docs. But it sounds like you have the trees there. You're just like I do, you just update that one line perhaps that you really are interested in and trying to attach. Because it does kind of help with the algorithm on their sites to match you up with other folks. We have folks who are just on Ancestry. We have some Ancestry Roots Magic. It seems really common. Ancestry and Family Tree Maker. Yep. More Ancestry and oh yeah, you guys love Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic are very popular. Ancestry, Family Search. Hey, Ginger, Family Tree Maker. Susan's the Family Tree Maker as well. Ancestry, Family Search, yes. Okay, now Catherine uses a Reunion for Max. That's actually a really good point, Catherine. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm actually not familiar with those because I guess I should have clarified. I actually have a PC. I do not have a Mac, so I'm only using programs that work on a PC. So, but I have heard about Reunion for Max. So that is an option. Catherine, do you mind popping in? Does that actually, will that sync with like Ancestry or any of the major databases as well? Yep, we have, yep, Families in WikiTree. Yes, WikiTree is out there. I was actually on one of their Let the Records tell the story, I think. So they featured me recently on their YouTube thing. It was lots of fun to have 40 people working on your tree. That was really cool. June uses all that I mentioned. Yeah, it is hard to keep up with them. Excuse me, one second. And Jim said he's tried almost all the online and desktop. Reviewing the new Roots Magic 8 to move from Ancestry to desktop for your official tree. Yeah, so there's lots of ways to do it, but I think we are primarily mostly using that. Catherine says Reunion for Macs does not sync with online trees. Is WikiTree totally free with things? As far as I know, it is. I do have I do have a tree over there. They did do a lot of work on my tree for me over there, which was really fantastic. They do some great research when they featured my family tree on their recent YouTube channel. But yes, but I think, to work and use it, it is free, definitely. And it is another tree that's similar to like Family Search, where it's like one big tree for everybody. So anyway, you can definitely check that out. So sounds like we're doing a lot of the similar things. And I'm glad you guys brought up the types of programs that you're using as well. Robin asked me, she's a reader who emailed me recently, and she said, how do you keep your online trees up to date, since no software program that she's aware of synchronizes with all of the major lawns or tree sites? And I think that's exactly kind of what we were talking about. So I keep my Ancestry online tree updated. That is my most updated online tree. And of course, my Family Tree Maker program is my most updated tree at all, completely, because it has notes on there. It has things on there that I don't put online. So that's going to be, kind of my primary tree, but I can research off of that by syncing it to obviously both Ancestry and to Family Search. When I'm working on those lines that cross back into Europe or cross back into the UK, primarily for me, it's the UK, I am on that family, the Find My Past tree, and I'll just work on updating the lines that are there. So it's a little clunky, but it works for me. So, originally, if you're just getting started and want to try that, you can, if you're on Ancestry and, one of the others like a Family Tree Maker or Roots Magic, and you want to put a tree online at MyHeritage or Find My Past, essentially you can either start one and start filling it out. But if you have one, you can create a GEDCOM file and upload the GEDCOM file to those programs. And that's the quick and easy way to do it. And if you watch the video on the website this week that I did, you'll see how to do that on each of the platforms to do that. And so then I just kind of will go back and see, once I've done some work on that family tree, I'm probably going to give it just a little time and come back and see, okay, in the Find My Past algorithm, did they find something that I didn't already know? Are they matching me with other people that, other researchers, other potential collateral relatives that I'm not aware of? That's how I will use it in that direction, that way. So that's pretty much what I do. Yes. Larry did say WikiTree is free. So yeah, they do it. That's a really cool program tree that they do over there as well. So let me know if you guys have any other questions about your family tree. Some of the other questions I get is people will ask about privacy settings in each of the trees, each of the main databases. Well, all of them, Family Tree, MyHeritage, Find My Past, Family Search, Wiki. They all have privacy settings. And I typically do not, my basic rule of thumb is I never publish anything about anybody who's still living. The rare occasion that you see me publish something, even on my website, about a living relative, I have permission to do that from them, because other than that, I do not publish anything on the website or on the family trees about living relatives. I just feel like they have vital information, but it's, I can document, but it's really their stories to tell. And so I will always defer to them that way so that I keep things nice and clean that way. Now, sometimes in my family, because we have such longevity, we have lots of family members who live into their 90s and like even up to 100. Sometimes you get my tree will look kind of awkward. It's like, are they really all still living? Well, yeah, in some cases they really are. So I had to tighten up those privacy settings on that. Catherine asked, do you think the GEDCOM should include your desktop tree notes or not? Good question. So when you're uploading a GEDCOM file to somebody else, two things there. Sierra, if I am creating a GEDCOM file just for backup purposes, so just to have a nice backup either in the cloud or on a thumb drive, external hard drive, I will include those notes. I'll include everything because that's just for me. And it's for me to be able to back up should something happen to my laptop or something like that. If I'm going to update it to the one of the major databases, I typically do not include my notes. I don't think anybody can make heads or tails of my notes because of the way my own little personal shorthand I use, but I do keep those notes to myself, and I don't necessarily upload those. So yeah, I don't know if you guys do. I'm curious. I'd be curious to know what you do. Yvonne said, in World War One, did you have passports? You know, we've seen there are documents all the way back into, I think, it's late 1700s, where I don't necessarily call them passports, but travel documents were required in some cases. So by World War One, I'd have to look it up. I don't know exactly what was required, but yes, you may have had to have required some passports at that point. Yvonne, I'm sorry, I just don't know the exact year off when they became kind of standard. But what you can do is literally Google what if it's whichever year. So say 1914, in 1914, were US passports required in 1914 for travel? So you could actually Google that and get that going up that way. Eric said on his mom's side, some lived to be in their mid-90s. Grandpa was 2 months away from 100 back in 2011. Exactly. That can that you have to be careful with your trees that way for that. So yeah, I have a lot of, even back into the like 1800s, my ancestors in that one line were living into their 80s. It was typhoid fever got a couple, but it was really kind of interesting. That's my my family said, well, it puts retirement planning in a new light when you have that much longevity in the family. So and Dave said his grandfather had a passport in 1916 when he went to England. That's what I was thinking. I was pretty sure you still had, I just can't remember what exactly when that was required, but I do know they were there. Pam wants to know if we ever add people who are not blood related, just a friend, to your tree. That's actually a really good question. I actually had that conversation with somebody recently. I do not. I will put them in notes, or I will indicate. I don't add them to an actual relationship, but I think you actually have the ability on Family Tree Maker to do that. But I typically don't add a non-blood relative. I typically just use my family tree for blood relatives and make any, I can make any notes about that or addendums to their profile that way. And that would be, that's the kind of thing that maybe I would add that into my online tree as well to keep it clean, because I wouldn't want somebody to accidentally pick it up and think that that was a blood relative and go off on the wrong tangent is really what I don't want to have happen. Catherine says she wasn't aware to exclude notes till after the GEDCOM was uploaded to MyHeritage. Oh, your father's whole World War II ship's log notes were on it. Oh my gosh. I bet they were fascinating. I'll say that. Yeah, you could probably, you could, depending on how much tree and how much work you've done on that, you could technically take it down and then re-upload, just create a different tree that has the GEDCOM without those notes, and do it that way. Or you could just lock the privacy on your current tree and upload one without the notes. So, yep, Larry, you've got the longevity too, 103. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ancestry does mark living people private, but I always double check just in case because they might miss it, or and it kind of, I think now it's probably not as big of a deal to worry about it. I think earlier when I was starting out as a newbie, I had to be careful. I think I don't think the parameters were quite tight. I think you could actually set them yourself, I think, at one point, and so I just had to make sure they were set right, but I do make sure that that's what's going on. Pam says she has a very upset relative with you because you refused to add this family who I don't even know. Thanks again. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, Pam, as I talked, said, it's your tree, and so you know that's kind of how I deal with it, and um yeah, at the end of the day, it really is your tree and it's your choice how you choose to document people. I would say that whichever way you choose, make sure you are consistent. That's as important as, putting one on but not another one, or vice versa. You just be really consistent with that, and I think that makes it better. So Tammy's wondering if you add friends to a tree that never occurred to you, so you're curious. And that's what we were just kind of talking about, Pam, is I don't add friends to trees. Now, you might find it in my notes on that person if I talk about maybe, for instance, my great grandmother was had a best friend and they were very close. I have photographs of the women together. I have letters between them that spanned, probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And so I make note of that because her best friend meant a lot to her. Those families were close. And so it's important that I know who the friends are because it told me who the circle was, and it was able to fill in a lot of social gaps, but I don't necessarily I would never put that best friend on the tree as well. So yeah, so I don't put tree we don't typically put friends on the tree, but there's nothing wrong with putting them in your notes and documenting because friends, are important to your research later on. You never know when you might find that family playing a major role or intermarrying with another person in the tree. So yeah. Yvonne, you've exhausted all avenues on finding a photo. Any ideas that I might have missed to get all the information on him, but still no photo? What time period are you looking at, Yvonne? You can there I have a number of articles on the website. If there's a search bar at the top that you can put in, um, if you put in old family photos or where to find old family photos, you will get it'll spit out because there's two or three different articles over there on the website that actually talk about that, about the different places that you can look for old family photos. I also have another YouTube video, one or two YouTube videos on that as well. So yeah, check those out. That'll help. Catherine said her husband's early relative on Long Island dug his own grave at 100 and died the next day. That's a little creepy, but I'm impressed and a little disturbed, I guess. But yeah. So sync metadata on photos. Lee, when it comes to, I want to say the best thing to do is to go in and either ask the data like Ancestry or ask the databases like Found My Past or My Heritage. I think Ancestry strips the metadata. I am not 100% sure on that. I'd have to go back and ask Rick Voigt from Vivid Pics on that. We had a discussion on that. But I do think that some sites will strip the metadata from the photographs. So you might want to check on that and see from each of the individual sites. Read their policies, and it will tell you what they do. Yvonne said that photo she's looking for, he was born between 1886 and 1918. Yes, I definitely have some articles to help you on that. And so, yeah, just go over to the website and Google or search on my website the for old family photographs, where to find old family photos, and it'll give you a couple different articles on where to find those. So that should help. Uh, Lee said sync problems with slow rural internet suggestions. Oh, so if you're trying to sync your tree, so you have an online tree and you're trying to sync it with one of the online databases like Ancestry, and if your internet's not fast, you you could wait and do it like if you go to the library or something like that. I mean, it's a public Wi-Fi, but if it's a little stronger, that might help. Would be to go someplace like that, possibly. And I'm not real techy on this. Instead of using Wi-Fi, go ahead and plug directly into your internet. Does that make sense? As opposed to using the Wi-Fi. In other words, use the Ethernet to connect to your modem there and see if that will help on that. I am not, if anybody has better suggestion, pop it in the comments, because I am not necessarily a very tech person when it comes to that part. But yes, I do know some folks do have an issue with that slower internet. And rarely do I, when I'm traveling, sometimes if internets are slow, I will, usually just have to go to a public Wi-Fi, like a library. Starbucks, has a pretty decent Wi-Fi, and do it that way. But you do open yourself up because you are on a public Wi-Fi. So you just have to kind of weigh that risk that way for you. So, okie doke. You guys have great questions about family trees. I'm like really excited about those. There's so many different ways to do it. That what I tell people is, here's how I do it. And if any of my suggestions help, you may want to do it exactly like I did it, or you may want to do it your own way, but tweak it a little bit. And that's perfectly fine. It tends to be very much individualistic for that. And that's perfectly fine. The important thing is that we actually document our ancestors and do it consistently. Lisa, do you remove errored sync photos and reads later? Depends, Lee. It depends on. I don't typically do that, but I'm not very consistent with it. So I actually don't get a lot of the arrowed messages. So if I'm having trouble syncing the information, maybe I'll say, okay, sync without the photos because it'll be quicker, and that way. And then maybe I need to add the photos by hand. Or manually into, say, whichever way I'm going, whether it's going online or whether I'm trying to update offline. So if it's really slow, if I'm really struggling, then sometimes if it's not as many, I will just sync without photos and try to upload them later and see if that works. Sometimes that can help a little bit as well. Tammy said the cellular connection is stronger. You can have unlimited data. You can try using your cell phone as a hotspot link instead. That's an excellent idea, Tammy, for the question about what to do if your internet's slow. So if you have a good cellular connection, you've got that you need unlimited data to do it, but you could try using your cell phone for that as a hotspot. That would be an excellent idea. Eric's in the same boat. As far as the photographs are going, Eric, about his great grandmother had died with no photos that anybody has. She's the only person you have that you don't have photographs. Oh, and that's always so hard when you're trying to find that extra photo. Definitely, check out those articles, Eric, on the website. There should be some extra. Hopefully, there'll be some extra places you hadn't thought of that'll bring to mind for you to look at. Sometimes it does get a little hard during that time period, but there are still places to look, actually. So I would encourage you to do so with that. So wonderful. I'm excited, guys. This is really cool. One thing I want to tell you. So you asked the relatives first. Yes, you knew I was going to say that, Eric. Always ask the relatives first for anything, for photographs, definitely. What I'll tell you is that here's the magic question when it comes to photographs. I know we've been talking about trees, but when you're talking to family member for photographs, and if you are, or really any information about the family, I call it my magic question or my golden question. I never, ever leave that conversation without saying or without asking, who else should I talk to? You know, is there somebody else in the family? Is there somebody else in the community you think I should talk to? And so basically it's kind of a networking question, I guess, but it's a way to find other distant relatives that maybe I don't know. Oftentimes what happens, they're like, "Oh, yeah, you should talk to, Mary Smith because she married so and so's brother and they might have more information." And, it's one of those kinds of things. And oftentimes they can give you actually an introduction. So, yeah, that would be it. But yeah, you're right. I always tell people ask the relatives first, but also ask the distant relatives on that as well. All right. So coming up we are, believe it or not, guys, the holiday season is coming up. Don't shoot the messenger here. The holiday season is coming up. And so what I typically do in October is and I'm going to put the link in the comments here for you guys, is I start sending out my Frugal Genealogy Bargains email. It's one I send out every week. I think I'm going to do it on every Saturday now. And basically, if you sign up on the list, you'll get an email each week, basically with the upcoming bargains and sales that I'm seeing, because I do see a lot of the sales that come through. I get notice of those because I'm an affiliate. I have an affiliate relationship with a lot of different companies. But so, like if you're looking for DNA, if you're looking for deals on anything to do with, what am I thinking? Photo editing, things like that, supplies, databases, things like that. Those you'll start to see specials as we head into November, as we start to head into Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that stuff. Anyway, I don't like to clutter up my Monday emails with just a lot of that because that's not what you're there for. But I do recognize that some people are looking for certain things, so I do send this out weekly. Totally, this is separate from my Monday email. I only do it from basically October, the end of October to the end of December, and it's totally optional, guys. So, but if you know that you're in the market for something, if you're interested in knowing what some of the sales are coming up, sign up for that, and I'll give you notice of that. Missy said, back to the photos. For photos, she sometimes finds a person in the background of the group photo. That's actually a really great technique, Missy. I've never really talked about that, but you're absolutely right. So like if you have a group photo, or even like the photos that have, what is it? The photos, I like to call them the candid photos, like at family reunions or family gatherings and stuff, those old family gatherings, or the schools and stuff, and you do know somebody in that photograph. That's a really good way of then kind of going, if you can track them down and seeing what else they might have, or if they might know somebody who has other photos with that. I had one photograph of a bunch of children, and my dad was in the photo, but he didn't really know who the other kids were. I mean, he's like, yeah, okay, I know that they're my Haley cousins. That's it. I don't know anything else about anybody else in this photo. It's been so long, I don't remember. And so I emailed one person, and she's like, yes, this is, I can identify these two children. And so then she went and emailed it to more cousins, and it became this chain event. So after a while, we had like 10 people on this email list. Most of people I had never ever met before, had never heard of before, all identifying that photo and sharing other photos. So it was one of those kind of avalanche type things, and it was really a good way to do that. So yeah, that's a good thing to do. Vicki, are through lines connected to DNA relatives? So with through lines, that's on ancestry.com through their DNA. I actually have let's see if I can pull it up really quick, but I actually have a post for that as well for that on through lines as well. It's a little bit of an older post, but I think it's still pretty accurate with that. So through lines basically are going to be the suggestions. It's ancestry suggestions. So you do your DNA test, and then it would recommend, based on your tree that you have on there, they're going to make suggestions by comparing it to other things, saying, okay, I think that then this is probably, your fourth great grandmother or something like that, or your fourth great grandfather, but you still have to evaluate. Sometimes it's accurate and sometimes it's not. So it's not, I tell people, think of it as a suggestion, as a hint, and then it will be a way. Then you have to still do your due diligence and research it and evaluate it and determine, is it actually accurate? So it's basically kind of just a hint through the DNA process that you can use and then see if it actually matches up. So you connected with a member of your great grandmother's side of the family from Ireland, but none of the information lined up. So that's an interesting thing as to why you guys might have matched. But if it went through lines, it's actually very possible that through lines is making a suggestion, but it is not going to pan out for you, type thing. So I actually really like through lines because it does help. And I have found that the more, the larger your tree, the more filled out your tree is, the more accurate your tree is, your ancestry tree, the better through line suggestions you get, because it's making assumption. It's, the algorithm is working if it's on an accurate tree, it's working on a full tree, and it makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, it would have been in DNA, and definitely just don't take those as definites until you do your due diligence on that. So yeah, kind of fun, but it is kind of fun. I find it helpful actually to use those. So all right, guys, I did put the I did put the link for the sign up for the Frugal Genealogy Bargains email in there. If you're interested, again, it's totally optional. You'll still get the Monday emails if you're on that list as well. I did pop in that link to the Through Lines post on the website as well, Vicki. So if you need that, that's there. Now, because I'm traveling next week, guys, I will not be doing a Facebook, YouTube live next week. I considered doing it from my travels, but to be honest, I'm not sure I'm going to have Wi-Fi to be able to do it. So I was like, okay, we'll just have to let go, and I'll catch you the following week with that. So, but I'm excited because I should have some exciting stuff to share as well. So, but I haven't left you hanging. Watch your email on Monday, because I've given you another video to watch that you guys might find interesting there as well. So enjoy. It will be there. I will be popping in and out, checking in and out the Facebook group and the emails and stuff periodically as I travel. But if I'm a little bit slower responding, I'm going to go ahead and ask for forgiveness right up front. It just means I don't have a really good Wi-Fi there. Record it and play it for you later. That's right, Catherine. Well, that's why, Catherine, I did put in a new, I did put in a one of my more popular and newer videos suggested for you guys to watch next week, because I think it'll be helpful to you guys. So I've put that in there as well for you guys. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. We covered a lot of ground, didn't we? But I really enjoy answering the questions. So we definitely, we've talked about the family trees. We, again, I have my offline, I use Family Tree Maker. I have it online. My main one is Ancestry, but I do have them at each of the others. And I keep up with those basically by filling out in detail the line that I'm specifically working on. And again, it is to drive that algorithm. I want to get the hints that they have. I want to make sure I'm connecting with other researchers who might not be on a different platform. So that's what that is all about with that. So but I would tell you, if you take away nothing else from today, have an offline tree and an online tree, and make sure you are backing up that offline tree, like in those like Roots Magic or Legacy or any of those. Make sure you're backing it up both in the cloud and in the perhaps on an external hard drive, just to make sure you don't lose your work, because it is such a there's so much in there. You don't want to lose anything. So, all right, guys, I will see you in 2 weeks. You guys have a great rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, guys.